Once upon a tide, in a cozy coastal town called Shellshore, lived a fisherman named Kai. He was quiet, kind, and deeply in love with the ocean. Every morning, he'd sail out just before sunrise, whispering to the waves like they were old friends. The villagers said Kai was odd, always talking to the sea, rarely at the tavern, and never seen with a woman. But what they didn't know was that Kai had fallen in love with the sea, literally. Years ago, after nearly drowning in a storm, he was rescued by a mermaid named Nerida. She saved him, yes, but she also made him promise, if he ever returned to that cove, he'd be ready to love her completely. He returned the next day. To Kai's amazement, Nerida had the rare ability to transform into a human when on land. She explained it was a gift from the moontide, a once-in-a-century blessing granted to a few merfolk. But she had one warning. If water touches me unexpectedly, especially from the sea, my tail might return. They married in secret, just the two of them, barefoot on the sand, a ring of seashells around them. Nerida left the ocean behind and embraced the human world. They built a small villa at the edge of Shellshore, just where the cliffs kissed the sea. Over time, they had two children, Lena, clever and curious, and Finn, wild-hearted and fast as the wind. Both had Nerida's deep sea blue eyes and Kai's adventurous spirit. Life was peaceful. Nerida loved baking seaweed bread, surprisingly tasty, telling bedtime stories about jellyfish kingdoms, and pretending not to win at hide-and-seek even though she could hear heartbeats through walls. But peace is fragile. One hot summer day, Shellshore held its annual water festival. The townsfolk laughed, danced, and tossed water balloons through the streets. Lena and Finn joined the fun, while Nerida watched lovingly from the edge of the fountain. Then, splat! A rogue water balloon struck Nerida right on the legs. There was a flash of silver, a shimmering sound like wind through coral. Nerida gasped. Her legs vanished, replaced by a long, glistening mermaid tail. For a heartbeat, everyone froze. Then came the screams. "She's a sea creature! Witchcraft! Get her! She's one of them!" Nerida grabbed Lena and Finn, her tail awkwardly flopping as she tried to crawl toward the alley. Kai, sprinting from the market, scooped her into his arms. He didn't say a word. He just ran. The villagers, in chaotic pursuit, they dashed to the docks. Kai untied his old boat, the same one he had nearly drowned in years ago, and shoved off with shaking hands. As they sped from shore, torches and shouting voices faded behind them. That night, under a storm of stars, Nerida wept. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I should have never stayed." Kai took her hand. "You didn't stay. You lived. With us. And now we'll keep living. Somewhere new." He sailed for days, chasing whispers of an uninhabited island he'd once heard an old sailor mention. Finally, surrounded by glowing plankton and distant whales, they found it. A lush, untouched paradise with fresh water, fruit trees, and warm, soft sand. They named it New Shellshore. In their new home, Nerida could swim freely in the lagoon without fear. With time, her tail learned to appear only when she wanted it to. Lena and Finn learned to talk to dolphins, climb trees, and craft seashell crowns. Years passed. People forgot the strange woman at the fountain. But far across the sea, on a map only Lena knew how to draw, was a hidden island where a fisherman and a mermaid danced barefoot under moonlight. Where stories lived, magic was normal, and love, wild, loyal, sea-salted love, was the strongest tide of all. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel.